on the Falcons Kickoff Show.
Ryan hands to Freeman, touchdown Atlanta.
The Falcons ride momentum back to the Georgia Dome, but can they cool down the red-hot Kansas City Chiefs? Plus, the resurgence of Matty Ice.
Win on three. 1, 2, 3, win.
The Falcons quarterback tells Fred Khalil the key behind his comeback.
I think the way you get it done is you practice really hard.
And breaking down the breakout star.
Little guy caught it. Did he hang on? Absolutely.
What's behind the rise of Taylor Gabriel? From CBS46, this is the Falcons Kickoff Show.
And we are about 90 minutes away from kickoff, and that is a live look inside the Georgia Dome where the Falcons host the Kansas City Chiefs in an important battle for playoff position. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Fred Khalil, Chris Domino here in our studios. And over the next 30 minutes, we're going to get you ready for the Chiefs-Falcons game that you'll see right here on CBS46 at 1 o'clock. And Chris, this game is really one of the best of the day in the entire league.
Yeah, I don't know how much national attention this game gets, but I can promise you, I did some radio in Kansas City. They respect the Atlanta Falcons, and I know the Atlanta Falcons respect the Chiefs. That's the given part. But I think this is one of the best games on the slate today, and I think at the end of the day, the winner of this game is going to be talked about more tomorrow than maybe they've been talked about the entire year.
Well, you know, as you mentioned, these two teams are kind of flying under the radar in the national picture, even though they're off to great starts.
Yeah, and again, look, here's the thing. There's not a lot of excitement that comes out of Kansas City. They just play good, hard-nosed, clean football. Don't turn it over. Don't do a lot of amazing things. Tyreek Hill was the exception last week, but even that didn't register the way it was supposed to. When you do something that nobody's done in the NFL since Gale Sayers, there should have been a parade of some sort. He didn't get it. He got a mention. I think that's the front of the uniform. I think the Falcons at times suffer from the same thing.
All right, well, when you think of some of the best NFL teams this year, you think of Dallas, you think of New England. You might even put Atlanta in that mix, but no one really thinks about the Chiefs. But get this, dating back to last year, they're on a 19-4 run. The Chiefs are a team that, quite frankly, isn't getting the respect they deserve, and the Falcons know that makes them dangerous.
We'll have our hands full. Our team will be ready, but we know that they got a good team. We saw a lot of them last night, obviously, and we're looking forward to the matchup here at home.
They got really good running backs. They got the real big tight end. They have every game they can play. They can play in big personnel. They can play in small personnel. So it's like, man, you just got to be ready to adjust to anything. You got to be ready to run because they're fast, they're big, and they can play ball.
It's like we're facing the #1 defense every week. When they said it was going to be we got the hardest schedule in the NFL, I was like, yeah, it's the NFL, everybody good. So we're really going against some dogs every week.
We just, game plan for them. Obviously, they got great pass rushers, so we got to, chip those guys, get those guys to slow down, take advantage of them rushing up the field.
Chris, you called last week's win maybe the most important the Falcons have had under Dan Quinn. If they can get a win this week, go 3-1 against the AFC West, that may be the biggest statement that this team has made.
Yeah, 27 games in last week, I thought it was the let's push 2015 aside. Let's show coming off the Philadelphia loss as well as the bye that we're not that team anymore. Mission accomplished. This is a barometer game. Look, the Falcons would have said, the players would have said, Dan Quinn would have said, if they were playing Cleveland or Jacksonville, they would have said glowing things. You would have thought they were 8-3. The difference is this team in Kansas City is 8-3, and you need to say those things because all of them are true. Mission accomplished, I think, being out there this week, that this team knows not only how good the opponent is, but how big the game actually is.
Well, this year the thing that's carrying Kansas City is its defense, which is kind of deceptive because total defense, they rank 27th.
Yeah, well, somebody better, look, they can do whatever they want. If you're 27th in the NFL in defense, I'm assuming you really stink on defense. Then you dig a little bit deeper, and you don't have to go very far. You find out they're 8th best giving up points per game in the NFL. So when you're 8th best at anything in the NFL, you're really good at it. When it's 8th best at points per game at 19.5, you're a good defensive team. I don't really much care between the 20s and 20s. Heck, I don't care from the 20s to the 10s. It doesn't matter at that point. How many touchdowns and field goals are you giving up? I think this Kansas City Chiefs team is better, a lot better than that number 27.
Plus 14 in turnovers. That's the big one right there. And they have some playmakers. Check this out as we told you about. But now let's go to Ayanna. She is down at the Georgia Dome. Ayanna?
Fred, we all remember last season when the Falcons started out 6-1. They were on a roll, but they ended up not making the playoffs. So this season, head coach Dan Quinn is making sure his guys don't get too far ahead of themselves, and they are focused on the task at hand.
We try to say bring purpose, to what you're doing and make that your primary thought.
Coach Quinn is making sure his team doesn't get caught up in the noise.
So the Falcons are taking it one game at a time.
Doing what you do every day just becomes a means to an end, and that's the total opposite of what we do. The main thing is being here now, and how much better can we get? How much can we improve? And if you look too far down, you kind of miss, the whole purpose of what we're doing all together and battling for it.
Sitting in first place in the NFC South with a 7-4 record, this team knows they can't get too comfortable with 5 games left in the regular season.
You want to just keep building, man, because you don't ever want to get out there and just get complacent and stuff like that, because you can see that we can play with really good teams, but sometimes we play down the teams also. So we just got to go out there and every play and every day we got to try to start fast and we got to try to finish hard. We just got to keep building on that. That's one of the biggest ways you can get complacent, because everybody can tell you, at the beginning of the year you can be Super Bowl champions, and then you can go and lose a couple games and everybody telling you you're a bust.
Especially now it's getting late in the season, external factors, people saying you this, that, what seed you is, this and that, how good you are you a Super Bowl contender, all this other stuff that's going on. It's just one game at a time. For us right now, it's one practice at a time to put everything in, put all the work in.
After last season's classic meltdown, the Falcons are looking to rise up.
Go out there, leave no doubt, just go play for each other.
You're going to go out there with as much confidence, you're going to have the swag, you're going to be able to go play with anybody.
We just got to keep a foot on the pedal and, keep going forward and be relentless and continue to dominate each opponent.
So the Falcons are liking where they are right now, and with the playoff berth within their grasp, they know that nothing will be given to them, so they have to work hard throughout the rest of the season. Now, head coach Dan Quinn told me that they're working on their mental toughness and focus on resiliency headed into December and January. For now, let's send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Ayanna. There's still more to come on the Falcons Kickoff Show. Here's what's on deck.
Coming up, from outcast to rising star, we break down Taylor Gabriel's hot start with the Falcons offense.
Hopefully I'm inspiring and all kids around the world that you can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it.
And before he battles the Chiefs, Matt Ryan goes one-on-one with Fred Khalil.
We have started to think the same way, and I think that's led to a lot of our success.
That's next on the Falcons Kickoff Show.
It seems every year, every NFL team finds a new cult hero, an unlikely fresh face that provides an unexpected spark to the team. For the Falcons, there's no doubt who that guy has been. 5'8", 167-pound Taylor Gabriel. I mean, this guy was cut by the Browns before the season started, signed by Atlanta without much fanfare, but his speed and agility brings fans to their feet whenever he touches the football. Just look at what he did last week against Arizona. 2 touchdowns and 100 total yards. We spoke with him earlier this week.
All my life, man, just being undersized and just underestimated the things that I can do, and just to come here, just to be in the NFL at my size and doing the things that I'm doing, it's a blessing, man. And hopefully I'm inspiring and all kids around the world that you can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it. It doesn't matter how big you are and what your size is. When you get cut, it's depressing because you just lost a job and you really don't know where you're going to go. But like I just said, I was blessed and to have this opportunity to come here to the Falcons. I was already familiar with the offense, so the transition wasn't too bad. Earlier in the season, I didn't know the details of the offense, so I had to work my way into the offense and just get comfortable with it. And just being a part of the brotherhood, I had to come here and just get used to the tradition and what DQ wanted. But I'm bought in, and I'm grateful that I'm here.
Here's how good Taylor Gabriel has been over the past 4 weeks. 5 total touchdowns, 271 yards on 13 catches. He's also averaging about 17 yards a carry in that time span. Chris Domino's back with us. And Chris, a lot of things make Taylor Gabriel so effective, but really, what are some that stand out?
Well, the first thing is bang for your buck. There might not be a better bargain in the NFL right now, and you said without much fanfare. Believe me, when he was signed by the Falcons, we all had to find, I don't know, somewhere in about the 4th paragraph who he was because he was undrafted coming out of college. That makes him a great story. I can find fast guys all over the planet. I really can. I can't find fast guys who know how to catch a football, will take an NFL hit, get up and take another one after that. This guy has become the bargain on this team, maybe the best bargain I've seen around here in years.
An explosive player, no doubt. Another guy who stepped up last week, someone a little bit bigger than Gabriel, that's 6'2" cornerback Jalen Collins. He's taken over the starting role now that Desmond Trufant is on the shelf. Chris, they had to be encouraged by what they saw last week. He is a big cornerback.
he's very honest. You know, he's starting his career a little bit later than he would have wanted because of not getting on the field last year, being suspended this year. Now it's time for him to get it back, and he's going to have an opportunity. He's going to have 5 weeks to play good football, and really what it is, that's the personal part. What the Atlanta Falcons get to see is 5 weeks of what he might be capable of doing as they push towards January.
Well, you know, what a difference. And now, of course, on the offensive side of the ball, things are going to run through their quarterback, Matt Ryan. And what a difference a year makes for Matty Ice. Last year was his worst statistically since his rookie season, and fans wondered if he was on the decline. Well, this year he's up toward the top of the discussion for MVP. I sat down with number 2 this week to talk about the turnaround both he and the Falcons have made this year.
All day. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Win.
All right, Matt, first of all, what's the biggest difference you think from last year to this year?
Well, I think the number one thing is I think we've got a tighter locker room than we had last year. And, you know, I think that started during the offseason. I thought Dan has done a great job of bringing everybody together, but, you know, I think it's come to the players. You know, we're tight, we work hard during the week, we have fun, but there's a real sense of accountability amongst our team, and I think that helps us in critical situations.
I was going to say, you're 9 years in now. Have you learned that, like, when the players run the locker room, it's a much better atmosphere?
Absolutely.
You guys police yourselves kind of thing?
You know, I think it's your team is better when leadership and discipline and accountability comes from player to player as opposed to coach to player. And that's been the case even when I was in college. You know, some of the best teams that I was on in college were the ones that, you know, the players ran it. And that's what I sense we have this year. We have some good players, some good leaders, but we have buy-in across the board. And it's been really important for us.
What's been the biggest difference for you personally from last year to this year? To see your improvement, because you're, you know, mentioned now as an MVP candidate.
Well, you know, I think it's a couple of things. You know, I think one, being more comfortable in year 2 with Kyle for sure has helped. I think he and I are very much on the same page. You know, but I think you're a product of the guys around you when you play this position. I think our guys have played really well on the offensive side of the ball. I think, you know, the addition of Alex Mack at center for us has been really important, kind of stabilized our offensive line. You had a guy like Mohamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel, Aldrick Robinson. Just some more depth at the wide receiver position has helped us. And we have 2 great running backs, and our run game's been going. And I think anytime you have those kind of guys making plays for you as a quarterback, it makes your job a lot easier.
I want to ask you about Gabriel and Aldrick. I mean, those 2 guys, I mean, just what they bring, you know, as an alternate to the bigger guys like Julio and Sanu, or the bigger guys, and those are the guys, and they can move, man.
Yeah, they can run. I mean, that's one of the things that you know, I think we added this offseason was, you know, some guys that can really stretch the field vertically away from Julio. There's so many things that Who does for us in terms of, you know, moving a safety from one side of the field to the other. And when you have 2 guys like that can stretch the field on the other side and go vertical, it makes it really difficult for a defense to defend, you know, both sides of the field.
What do you all have to do now to get better as this season goes and to finish strong?
Well, I think it comes down to the details. I think when you talk about how you improve, you know, this time of the year, it's little things. When we watch the film from this past week, you know, there's about 6 or 7 plays that we could really clean things up. And if we were able to do 6 or 7 things better, you know, we might have another touchdown or 2 or 3 or something like that. So it comes down to little things, but I think the way you get it done is you practice really hard. And we've done a pretty good job of that all year.
Now, you probably don't look at stats a lot, but 50 games with 200 or more yards passing, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I know you'll be more impressed with that once everything's over, but I mean, have you thought about that? I mean, that's a pretty good run.
Well, I mean, I've only heard it because I've answered questions about it, and it is. I mean, it is nice to have been able to sustain it for as long as, you know, 50 games. But, you know, I think the most important thing, the thing you remember are wins. You don't remember passing yards or touchdowns or anything like that. You remember winning games, and so, you know, it's been fun this year, you know, being competitive and winning some more games.
You've talked about, you know, year 2 under Kyle. What's it like? Because you've been through a few offensive coordinators now in your 9 years. What is that like when you have to work, you know, one-on-one with a guy? He's in your ear, you're talking to him. How important is that relationship?
Well, I think it's really important, and I think it takes time. It took time with each of the coordinators to really make sure that you're on the same page. And you know, I feel like once you start thinking the same way, when I'm out there and it's in between plays, and I'm looking at down and distance and where we're at on the field, situation of the game, and I'm like, all right, I think this is going to come in. And then, man, it comes right in, and that's the play call that Kyle has called in. That's when I start to get the feel that I really think we're on the same page and we're very comfortable with each other because we have started to think the same way, and I think that's led to a lot of our success.
You know, Matt's not a guy for stats, but he's on pace for career best passing yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and maybe most importantly, passer rating.
Well, here's the deal. Matt Ryan knows he's proven he can play in the NFL. How Matt Ryan is going to be judged down the road, and it could be as early as this year, is what does he do in January. It's all the quarterbacks when you start to rank them. Currently as they play or for their career, it's going to be based on January every bit as much as any other number they accumulate over 10, 12, 15 years in the NFL.
All right, well, we will see if Matt Ryan can lead the Falcons to a victory later today. For now, we're going to pause and see what's coming up next on the Falcons Kickoff Show.
Next, the road to the postseason runs through Atlanta. But are the Falcons still the favorites in the NFC South? Plus, Ayanna Crystal on what makes the Falcons a family when the Falcons Kickoff Show continues.
Welcome back, and you can see just how much is at stake this last month of the season. The Falcons are clinging to that one-game lead in the NFC South coming into today's action. Tampa is 1 game back, New Orleans 2 back, Carolina 3 games back, and no one's out of it with a few games left, Chris. I mean, nobody's out of it.
Well, here's the thing. The Atlanta Falcons, whether you wanted them to have a bigger lead and just say, hey, let's wipe our brow and make these last 5 not as important, that's not their lot in life. They're not the Dallas Cowboys. They're not the New England Patriots. You have to fight it out. We're going to actually look at the full screen version of what's going on in the NFC to help you understand who it is you want to root for. And I promise you, there'll be an exception for Falcons fans today, but I promise you on top of that, you're going to want to root for a team in this division to win a football game today. What's really crazy is there's not a coach or a player alive who would let us do this, but as I like to say, none of them are my real dad. We're allowed to do it because we're on TV. We don't have to go into the building tomorrow to face any of them, at least talking about what we think we want to happen today.
Let's go ahead and look at the division schedule now so you know who to cheer for. The Saints begin the day on the road against the Detroit Lions team that's won 6 of its last 7. Falcons fans hope the Lions win today. Eventually, they're going to need them to drop a game or two when the playoff seedings come out, though.
So that one makes sense. We want the Detroit Lions to beat the team right behind the Atlanta Falcons. Go, check, got that one.
All right, Buccaneers are 4-1 on the road this year, but only 2-5 at home. Good news for them. They play at San Diego today, Chris.
Oh, this one's nice and easy. Root for the AFC team. Go San Diego.
There you go. Go Chargers. Carolina. Oh, yeah.
Gets a little tricky.
We don't like those guys. 4-7. All right, 1 year after going 15-1. Today they've got the Seahawks, another team the Falcons are jostling with in the playoff picture. So you don't want to count Cam Newton out yet, but the chances seem pretty slim, don't they?
Yeah, so slim that I'm going to do this. Go Carolina. Because if we're going to look at the standings now, these are the NFL standings. When you see the Cowboys are out in front, that's right, that's not a misprint. The Giants really are 8-3. But look at Seattle, look at Detroit, and look where the Atlanta Falcons are. I promise there's a reason for this. I'll give Carolina 1 game to help the Falcons' big picture. I can't do that with the team right behind the Atlanta Falcons, though. So root for Carolina today. Then what you have to root for is the Atlanta Falcons are going to be good enough not to have that hurt them. Then you have to be good enough to believe that you can catch and be the number 2 seed in the NFC. Because if you have a goal, it's to win your division. Knock that one out. Then what you really want is the seeding to make sure you're at home for as long as you can be.
I was going to ask you because home field, especially in the postseason, is so important. We've seen that play out.
Yeah.
We talk about it seems cliche, but we've seen it play out.
You know, the other thing that's kind of interesting is we know the Giants have a history. They haven't done it in a couple of years, but they have a history of being better in January than they were during a regular season. 2 Super Bowls proves that. We've seen what Seattle's done recently. But the Cowboys, Detroit, and the Atlanta Falcons are going to be newish to this whole playoff thing. So let's find out what it is they do. Hit the ground running to me means get a week off and know that somebody's going to come into your building.
You know, Seattle with that 1 tie out there, that could help them. That could really help them and kind of push them ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that the Carolina Panthers are the least of the Falcons' worries. Now, again, 15-1 last year, an MVP quarterback, and a defense that at times plays really well. But I'm willing to sacrifice to root for Carolina today to have me believe that they're not going to go 5-0 and you're not going to stumble to the tune of 2-3, which means all of a sudden I have to worry about tiebreakers.
Well, here we go. How about this? If you're the Falcons, then just win. You don't have to worry about what the other team does, right?
I got to make that my other round.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Just win, baby, right?
Yes.
All right, let's go back out to the Georgia Dome now. Ayanna Crystal has more on today's game. Hey, Ayanna.
Hey, Fred. said, well, Coach Quinn realized that something bigger than the game was missing from this team last season. So during the offseason, they actually trained with Navy SEALs to really come together as one, because for this team, it's bigger than individual stats. This season, the Falcons have had their fair share of ups and downs. Whether it's injuries, tough losses, or inconsistent play, all of the obstacles have brought this team closer.
I think our bonus game way stronger. We have gotten a lot stronger.
The motto for this team is exactly what you see on Coach Quinn's shirt.
Well, this one has family, and then on the back, that's us with the Brotherhood. So that's our group and what we stand for.
It's more than stats for the Falcons. They are family, and they hate disappointing each other.
You're going to go out and do whatever it takes for your family, to see them happy. And that's the same thing with us. We just go out and fight for each other every week.
We just go out there and play for each other all the way until the end of the game. We try to start fast, come back out second half, try to start fast again, and also finish the game for each other.
Taylor Gabriel is new to this squad, but the wide receiver is embracing the brotherhood.
Being a part of the brotherhood, I had to come here and just get used to the tradition and what DQ wanted. But I'm bought in.
It appears the whole team has bought into this brotherhood.
It's one of those things we go out there and, like I said, just leave it all out there for our brothers. We're not just going out there playing for ourselves.
Extreme focus and extreme competitiveness in all that we do, meetings, practice, getting ready. It takes a tight group to push each other to do that. So that's why I'm so pumped to be a part of this group.
So this team has really bought into this brotherhood. You can actually feel it when you go into the locker room. These guys are joking around with each other and really just having fun, and that's important with this team. Now, Coach Quinn says that this team is getting closer to the identity they want, and the key for this Falcons team today against the Chiefs will be to click on all three phases. Now let's send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Ayanna. I'm not sure if you can tell, but this is what downtown Atlanta looks like now. It looks like Big Ten country instead of SEC country. Look at that. Yikes. Stick around. We'll be back with some last-second news and notes coming up. Glad they're playing in a dome, huh?
Yes, sir.
You're going to see something different today at the Georgia Dome. NFL players are wearing custom cleats to benefit a cause they care about. The cleats are going to be auctioned off after today's games. On the Falcons, Matt Ryan is supporting Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Devontae Freeman supporting his Devontae Freeman Foundation, and Eric Berry is supporting the efforts to cure Hodgkin's lymphoma. So a very big day around the NFL today. And Chris, before we go, who do you like in this one?
It's not easy to win games in the NFL. It's really hard to beat good teams in the NFL. I like the Falcons. I think based upon what they did in the second half of that game last week, they're ready now for this one. They spoke it, but I think more than that, they're ready to deliver it today.
All right, well, that will wrap up our pregame show. Chiefs and Falcons at 1 o'clock right here on CBS46 for Chris Domino. I'm Fred Khalil. We'll wrap up today's action tonight at 11:30 on CBS46 Sports Sunday. The NFL Today is next. Have a great day.